I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
President Byrne,
Here.
Trustees Schultz,
Here.
Schwartz, Williams, Hebda,
Here?
Cook,
Here.
Markwart.
Here.
We have a quorum. The meeting is called to order. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Are there any citizens that wish to address the board tonight on any matter other than what's on committee of the whole? Because if it's on committee of the whole, you will get to say your piece. Any citizens want to speak? Okay. Okay. I got to do the ceremonial turn the cell phone off. Okay. Life-Saving Award, Officer Joe Reyna. Let the record reflect, Trustee Schwartz Sanders is late.
That's only because she's here after you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it usually,
criteria.
and usually, okay, let the record reflect, Trustee Cook's correct. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. President, members of the Village Board, we stand before you tonight to present Officer Joe Reyna with the department's Life-Saving Award. One of the core values of the Vernon Hills Police Department is to enhance the safety and feeling of security of our residents. And that value is what we're here to address tonight. Normally, my comments at these types of events include the number of training hours our officers received and whether or not they'd be able to apply that training when it really counts. But tonight is just a little bit different. For a police officer, there is no greater service or act that they can provide than to save the life of another person, especially an infant or a young child. Most of us go through our entire careers without an opportunity to be involved in a life and death situation. But then most of us aren't Joe Reyna. On August 28, 2013, Officer Reyna responded to a call for a child who was not breathing. He was the first person to arrive on the scene, and the child was, as I said, apparently not breathing, and it was already turning blue. The parents immediately handed the child to Officer Reyna, who was limp and unresponsive and not breathing. Without hesitation, Officer Reyna initiated resuscitation efforts and provided rescue breathing. Within a few moments, the child's airway was partially clear, allowing her to breathe on her own, and Officer Reyna carried the child to the waiting ambulance where they were able to expedite further care. If it was not for his quick actions, the outcome would have certainly been tragic, and you are commended for your life-saving efforts. Now, this incident itself is remarkable, but what makes this truly remarkable is that this is the third time in the past 3.5 years that Officer Reyna has been involved in a life and death situation where Joe's quick response, cool demeanor, and professionalism has led him to save the lives of 3 different children. Every individual who becomes a police officer takes the oath and puts on a uniform, hopes that sometime during the course of their career they can truly make a difference in someone's life, and they hope that they can have a positive impact on at least one person during their career. I'm probably not going too far out on a limb here tonight when I say that there are at least 3 families living here in Vernon Hills who would say that Officer Reyna has made a significant difference in their lives. His actions are in the highest tradition of the Vernon Hills Police Department, and tonight he is being presented with his 3rd life-saving award with the thanks and gratitude of the department and the community.
Does Officer Reyna want to say anything, Chief?
I told him he might.
Thank you.
Thank you to all my partners, friends, and family that came out here to support me while I was receiving this. It's not an individual award. My dispatcher, Travis, and 3 of his partners were also able to help in figuring out where I needed to go and getting the dispatch out there as quick as humanly possible, which was an excellent job on their part. Without that, I would have never had the opportunity to be there to help somebody out and make a difference. It does seem a little strange to me to receive an award for this. While I'm grateful for it, it's pretty much the same thing that anybody back there would have done if they had gotten the call instead. But it just happened to be me this time, so I'm grateful for the gratitude that's shown to me. And the last thing I would say is the little girl I was able to help out this time, her name is Emily. She was born in July of 2009. That just seems too young not to have a chance, a good, strong fighting chance to have a good, long, healthy life. So I'm glad that I was able to get there and help her out with that, but in reality, she did most of the work. She's a tough little kid. I'm a big fan of hers. Thank you, everybody, for acknowledging me on this award. I really appreciate it.
I also wanted to pay special recognition to the 2 dispatchers who received the call, Eugene Travis, who's present here tonight, and Sarah Silliman, who is out of town tonight. But as I understand it, there was a significant language barrier when the caller called in. Also with the level of excitement and frustration, they did an outstanding job calming the caller down, getting the information they needed as quickly as they could, and getting Officer Reyna on the scene. Otherwise, again, things might have been significantly different. So they'll be getting their own department awards later. Thank you.
Now, can I ask a question? Who are these 2 little guys here?
This is my oldest son, Joe. He's 10, and this is my younger son, Alex, who's 7.
Okay. Your dad's special.
Very special.
Okay.
Very
Thank you.
special. Yeah.
And that, by the way, is his wife.
Well, you know, I assumed Officer Reyna wasn't the producer. Okay. All right. And if Officer Reyna and your sons want to leave and family, you're free to. Since I don't think you want to stick around for the rest of this, do you? Okay. Okay. Appointments to summer celebration. Do we have to swear these people in or just swear at them?
Well, that comes
How much-
later,
Yeah.
the latter.
I mean, when we're
But-
at the site, you know, when we're all
Right.
kind of amorous and the event's going on? Okay. All right. So this is appointments to summer celebration. Kathy Zarillo, Joe Hoffman, co-chairs. Tony Pastoroni, Children's Entertainment. So is there a motion to approve these appointments?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions? Other than, you know, it's a lot of work and, you know, we appreciate the volunteers and that actually step forward for summer celebration. So, anyway, roll call.
Trustee Schwartz? Aye. Williams? Hebda?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye.
Markwart?
Aye.
Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor, if I could just mention,
Yeah.
the former chair, who hasn't been chair for a few years,
Right.
but Ina Marquardt and Kent Overholzer both worked through this past summer season. Hats off to them, too. Like you said, the committee works hard.
officially retired?
Well, Kent has, Ina, I have not seen something official yet.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've talked to Ina, and she's certainly, and Mike talks to her a lot, and so I think she's retired. Is that? I don't know. Should I emphasize the think?
Just put that.
Okay, I'll put the think on it. All right, fine. All right, okay. Proclamation, Drive for Pledges Day. Okay. The Village of Vernon Hills holds the health and safety of its teenagers and adults as a chief concern. Though it can wait.com, Facebook, text to pledge, tweet to pledge, and events, more than 1.8 million people have committed to never text and drive. 98% of American commuters now sending a text or email while driving is not safe. Nearly 50% of commuters text while behind the wheel. More than 40% of commuters who text while driving reported the activity as being a habit. A Virginia tech study showed those who send text messages while driving are 23 times more likely to crash. Yeah, I believe that. A driver that sends a text message while driving not only jeopardizes his own safety, but also the safety of passengers, pedestrians, and other drivers. Now, therefore, I, Roger L. Byrne, President of the Village of Vernon Hills, do hereby proclaim September 19th, 2013 is Drive for Pledges Day in the Village of Vernon Hills. And that one's a problem, to say the least. I don't know. Nobody in here texts while they drive, I'm sure. Nobody talks on the phone while they drive, right? Nobody. Yeah, okay. Anybody Catholic in here? Anybody Catholic? Yeah. Anybody got the guilt? Go to confession then. If you don't text when you're driving or talk on the phone. I don't even think hands-free is good, because I can remember one time. I'm on a hands-free and I'm talking and I went right through a red light. And one of Palatine's finest saw me. And one of Palatine's finest gave me a ticket, and I said, yeah, you got a point, I mean, I was talking, so you get so involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Guess what? You don't pay attention to what's going on in front of you. Fortunately, it was a T intersection, and I didn't get T-boned, but in essence, it's not safe, so. I admit I'm a sinner, but nobody else in here is, I know. So you're all, got dispensation from somebody. Okay, even though I only had 2 hands raised. All right, fine. Village manager, Oktoberfest, September 28th.
Well, let's talk about something that's fun. Oktoberfest. It's September 28th, as you mentioned, on Saturday from 3 to 10 p.m. And there's all kinds of the usual kid stuff, the inflatables, and of course there'll be beer at night and music, and it's a great time to meet your neighbors and have a good time. So come on out. And I just happened to have some raffle tickets. The raffle you all approved several months ago. So if you care to support nonprofits,
Right.
I got raffle tickets here. And then the second thing, at the Village Park Liaison meeting last week, we talked about skunks a little bit. And we talked about funding a trapper. And the chief and I have been talking about skunks quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. But what we're going to do is we retained a trapper. They're going to start sending out traps on public property. But we've identified some areas through the Park District, our community service officers, and just general observations where they're most prevalent, although it seems like they're really, frankly, all over town. So that's the effort we're doing jointly with the Park District. So, and the traps are live traps, and we're going to work hard, obviously, on releasing animals that are perhaps captured but not intended.
But are not skunks.
Correct. So, anyway, just want to let everyone, remind everyone of that. Thank you.
Okay. Public Works Director Brown, Emerald Ash Borer update.
Thank you. Wanted to provide a brief update on our emerald ash borer attack. We have 3,500 ash trees within our inventory. This year alone, we removed and replaced 550 of them. We've only replaced 760 of the 3,500, so we're about 20% along with dealing with the ash trees. The foresters talk about a exponential death curve And once you notice that the ash trees are having problems, that's when the next 3 years you're really going to have severe impacts. We are there now. We anticipate that we're going to have to remove between 600 and 1,000 ash trees we've already identified that have diseases and problems. These are just parkway trees. We're working with the community development also as far as private property trees, and we're reaching out to private property owners, trying to assist them in terms of the ash trees they have on their property. And a number of businesses and homeowners associations are starting to address their trees. So wanted to provide the update so people do know to contact the Public Works Department if they have concerns about their ash trees. And finally, I wanted to share with the village board, we're going to have the next couple years, we're going to have a big battle in front of us trying to deal with these trees. Ash trees become very brittle. They're not like the elm trees we've dealt with in the past. They become very brittle, they break, and they need to be removed. So we're doing our best in terms of injections also. We're having better success with white ash trees versus green ash trees. And we are injecting those. We've injected about 110 ash trees so far.
How do you know if you got a green one? Did you mark them?
Well, our forester knows by tree identification a green ash versus a white ash, and we know that we need to treat the white ones theirself. So,
Well,
not sure if I answered.
I got one in front of my house in the parkway. So is it a white or a green?
I have not been in front of your house to tell you whether or not it's white and green, but I'll.
But I mean, yeah, that would be kind of nice to know. But you're finding only 110 out of the 3,500?
I guess what I'm saying is, in terms of treatments, green ash trees don't survive the injections. White ash trees do. So when we go around and we look at the various trees, we know the green ash from the white ash, and if it's a green ash, we're not going to spend time injecting it. We're just going to inject the
So
white ones.
how many of the 3,500 have an inventory to be green or white?
We think that 40% of the ash trees are actually the green ash, and probably 50% are white, and then there's some other ash trees thrown in the mix also.
So we're going to just keep doing that all winter?
We think that we will be removing trees. Before we were removing trees just in the non-flight season. We're going to be removing trees year-round now because we know the
I'm
exposure.
more interested in the white ones that can be treated. Because
Yes,
then we got to talk about that when we budget. Because that's what, $100, $200 a pop?
it is about $200 a pop. They have to be treated every second year. When you stop treating them, then they're open for impact again.
Yeah,
So-
I think
Okay,
I've mentioned
okay.
this before. I have a ash. I'm not sure if it's green or white, but Ken, our arborist, said it's doing well. And I personally treat it. I know a number of
Yeah.
residents have done that in a parkway, and it looks very good. The crown looks good, and I don't hear any woodpeckers, which is a good thing.
Which is
and-
very good.
Yeah, it's about $120, and you have to do it
Well,
every
yeah, I mean,
second year.
you know, some of us in my neighborhood are doing this, but it'd be kind of nice to know if the one by my house is
Let me
white
go-
or green, because I'm already buying this stuff to mix and put it around. It looks like green slop or slime, you know, and it's like, you don't want to touch this stuff because you think you glow in the dark, for God's sake, you know? You know, but seriously, I mean,
We'll go
Okay,
check
all
in the specifics on your tree.
yeah, I know that, but we're checking all the parkway trees, and then
We are.
okay.
We are.
And then we're gonna discuss it at budgetary time to shoot them, okay.
Absolutely. And that's really the purpose for the update. We're heading towards budget season. We did everything in-house before. We may be talking about some assistance in planting for the next spring. So that's really,
Is any of this stuff that I buy, like every, you know, at Ace, is any of that good or bad? It's bare.
what the experts are telling us is the best product to use is called triage. Independent studies have shown it does work.
So I can't buy that.
You cannot buy that. You need to hire a professional to inject the trees. And actually, injecting trees works much better than a solution that you will dump around the trunk because it gets right into the tree.
All right, so this actually, you go right into the tree?
You inject
Okay.
it right into the system. So.
Well, maybe we ought to spread that word, because this stuff is about $80, I think for 2 treatments,
Yeah.
So I'd be better off rat holing my money on the other stuff and having somebody out and shoot it than me pouring it around the tree
Absolutely.
and then running for cover.
Yeah. So
This
what,
stuff actually stained the concrete in my garage. I'm going, what's in this stuff,
yeah.
So,
So we will be working with Channel 4 to get the word out,
right.
share some of the things that you've raised, and we will be talking to you at budget time. So
Does White Deer Run have a high number of ash trees?
they do.
yeah, they're everywhere.
They do.
Have they been, do we know if they've been injecting?
I don't know what their program is right now. I'll check. with
Because
them.
I know
Oh, you're talking
we're
about
doing
the
it at
Parkway
the,
stuff, yeah.
well, we're doing the Muni. I know they were out there injecting those because we've got a lot of ash trees on the Muni. But
Yeah.
White Deer needs to preserve theirs also.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so part of this is to update residents if they have questions such as yours, contact us. We'll go out, we'll look at your tree, we can tell you what type of tree and what the best treatment is. So, please contact us. There's a second part to this. If you see in your packet, we're running into situations, and a lot of them's within the deer path area and the cul-de-sacs, that there's really no room in the parkway to fit between the curb and the sidewalk a parkway tree and allow it to live. It tends to uplift our sidewalks, etc. So in those rare instances that we determine we can't place a tree in the parkway, we would like to work with the homeowner, and in lieu of putting it in the parkway, put it right adjacent to the parkway on their private property. I've worked with attorney Bob Kinney to draft this letter. It's in your packet, but we would like to still have a nice streetscape, but sometimes we don't have the opportunity afforded to us to install it within the right-of-way. So really, it's a policy in front of you. Staff is recommending that we do work with the homeowners in the rare instance that we would use this, but we would have an agreement that they would sign acknowledging that there has been a tree placed on their private property, we'll maintain it for 1 year, and then after that it becomes theirs, but we're not going to put another parkway tree. This is the substitute for it. So I would open that up to the board if they have any questions.
Okay. Are there any questions on that one? No. Okay. All right, next is the omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through J?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustees Williams, Hebda,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz.
Okay, motion carries. Unfinished business. Approval of Kemper voucher list of bills dated September 17th, 2013, in the amount of $18,796.22. Is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Second?
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? If none, roll call.
Trustees Hebda,
Aye.
Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz, Williams.
Who?
Williams.
And for the record, I'd vote aye. Motion carries. Approval of Village Park District Liaison Committee meeting of September 10th, 2013. What are we approving here? The minutes?
Yeah.
Oh. Does it say that?
No,
No.
so that's, I'll approve it.
So these are the minutes from that meeting?
Right. Because it was
I don't-
a
okay.
public,
So I just wanted to
published
clarify
meeting,
that.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
fine.
actually approving the minutes, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, okay. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Motion approved.
And a
Second it.
second motion, a second. Comments or questions? Roll call.
Trustees Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz. Williams. Hebda.
Aye.
For the record, I'd vote aye. Motion carries. New business and communication, anything to come before the board? Just one thing, and this is for Dave Brown. Can somebody tickle the business park owners or, the park district, and then obviously the public works to start trimming these paths? If you had a couple of people, not me, let me know that it's kind of rough walking, jogging, or riding your bike, So, and we got a lot of paths around town. Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the board meeting and go into committee of the whole?
So made.
In closed session, we have anything for that?
Litigation and personnel.
Okay, and then after committee of the whole, we'll go in to do litigation and personnel, and we will not come out and discuss any further business, right?
Correct.
Okay, roll call.
Trustees Markwart.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Schwartz. Williams. Hebda.
Aye.
Cook.
Motion carries. All right. Is Taxman pulled?
Yes.
All right. All right, what's next? The trucker. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the committee of the whole minutes of August 27th, 2013?
Motion
made.
approved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustees Hebda.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Markwart.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Schwartz. Williams.
Motion carries. Okay. Truck Repair and Parking LLC. Consideration of reports or recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding various items, including but not limited to rezoning of the property, amendment of the Code of Ordinances, and granting of a special use permit and variation. 1230 Butterfield Road.
Thank you, Your Honor. Petitioners are here tonight and can answer any questions that you may have with regards to this request. They appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission on August 28th to request those items as you previously listed. The proposed development will be known as TR&P Terminal and will occupy the former First Student Bus Company property located at 1230 Butterfield Road. Property is currently zoned R1, which is 2-acre single-family residential. Was annexed to the village back in 1994 as a part of a larger annexation of the Prairie Materials property into the village. As you will recall, unlike the Prairie Materials property, there was no annexation agreement that was done as a part of that annexation, and therefore the zoning remained on the property as R1, typical with a no action that is typically taken by a village when annexing a property. Since that time, the early 1960s, the property's been used for operation, repair, and maintenance of school buses. And while First Student stopped storing buses there approximately 2 years ago, they have continued to use the property for the training of new drivers and the like. My report is attached to your packet. I will tell you that I've had 2 meetings with the Greg's Landing North HOA and Mr. Cathan and his team. Provided us comments as a part of the review. The petitioners did a nice job addressing those conditions or those requests and ideas that were put forth by the HOA. Mr. Cathan also then appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission to express additional questions, which during the meeting, the Plan Commission and the petitioner was actually able to work out. The primary one was the extension of a fence along the north property line to basically stop the view of the property from southbound Butterfield Road into the site. And we've addressed that as a part of the overall plan. Mr. Cathan was the only member of the public that appeared at the meeting and provided any testimony with regards to that. He also had expressed concerns about changing some of the plant materials to adjust it to different types of materials, addressing the operating hours, and then, as I said, the screening itself. The petitioner agreed to those items, and they were incorporated as a part of the overall recommendation and the conditions for approval. The Plan Commission took made six motions as a part of this application. Each of the motions were unanimously recommended for approval. Those included the rezoning of the property from R1 to BP, which is Business Park District. The 6-0 vote to recommend approval to amend the Code of Ordinances that would create a definition of a motor vehicle terminal, add self-storage and commercial storage facilities as permitted uses, and then also added a new special use section that allowed the use as proposed by the petitioner to operate on the site. I will note that as a part of Article 3, I needed to add a clarification on the motor vehicle terminal that basically says, and I'll start in the middle, unloading and loading of trucks, and instead of related vehicles, I would ask that the language say other motor vehicles. It's more of a clarification and consistency with the special use. Then within the definition of the special use, I need to clarify again some language in there, eliminating prior to the definitions truck and trailer parking, and just eliminate that out of there. And then also under item A, it would read motor vehicles are limited to automobiles, buses, trucks, including trailers. Again, you can't have.
Can I interrupt just for?
Yes, sir.
Does this address reefer units?
The cooling type units.
Yeah.
It does not address those.
You're gonna have reefers over there running all night? You're gonna have them on site? Huh?
They don't have it.
And who are you? Oh, who?
One of the
She's part of the
petitioners.
team.
Oh,
They,
that's not your name though. All right.
they,
All right,
they,
because
Sure.
this came up, years
Five Star.
ago at 5-Star.
right, right,
And you got people living across the street
correct.
that would be probably less than,
We can add that condition. I mean, they've indicated that they were going to only haul dry goods and those types of things, and they can provide more information with regards to that.
well, okay.
But it's
I
not,
want you to clearly understand, no reefers. Okay?
Well, that would probably fall under also a violation of the timeframes that were put in there as operation.
well, the timeframes actually talk about maintenance on the property and operating the garage, but we can add a condition
Well, I'm
with,
sure you're gonna have vehicles rolling in and out of there at different hours.
24/7?
I'd like to hear from ownership here, and I'm pointing at you. Yeah, you wanna come up and,
Thank you. My name is Yulia Kislik. I'm an attorney representing these lovely.
Is-
and
is
and
that
who
on?
is this gentleman?
This
Is the
is
mic on?
Marius Bubenas. He's the
The
owner.
mic's not
Is the
on.
mic-
It's not
okay,
on.
Yeah,
it's on.
it isn't?
It's at the, near the bottom.
she's done this before.
There you go. Done this
All right.
before.
Okay.
This is Marius Bubenas. He's one of the owners.
How does he spell his last name?
Bubenas.
Bubianis.
Bubianis.
Bubianis?
Bubianis.
Bubenas. If I say it softer, it comes out right. Bubenas. Okay. All right. So, you're gonna have vehicles out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
No necessary.
That'll be running?
It's probably, it can be in an emergency situation when the vehicle is stuck somewhere on the road, but as the drivers we are long distance company, so drivers is usually
I know,
like
but is this addressed in the multiple recommendations, what's going on there in the middle of the night?
Well, there's to be no truck, no maintenance work on the trucks at all. It
Yeah.
does not prohibit a truck from arriving at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, as the petitioner testified. There may be weather instances where,
Yeah, I
So-
understand that. I mean,
but it's not prohibited. So you could have a truck or a couple trucks arrive in the middle of the night.
right.
So,
And then it'll be parked,
correct. That's our understanding, yes.
and then
Correct.
it'll be shut off.
Yes.
Where's the guy gonna be sleeping in it is gonna be running all night?
No,
Where's he going? To your
go
house?
home.
Home, where's home? I mean, how do I know where home is?
It's all drivers they live around this area.
Really? All of them?
Yep.
All right. Okay. But these are guys that go long distance.
Correct.
You know, they're not city drivers, like 50, 75 miles.
No. Our companies is operating long distance.
Okay. So, okay. There's nobody that comes in that's gonna sleep in the sleeper.
No.
Can you say that with absolute certainty? Because I'm just talking about the thing running all night because it's cold out.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I like this property, because it's all properties already have around the property have electric outlets, which one I can keep warm my old trucks.
Oh, you can plug in.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah, make sure there's something on these reefers.
Yeah, right.
You know, in case one slips in, you know? Those things are running all night.
So we'll add that as a condition. The commission
Okay, yeah.
voted unanimously to recommend approval of special use permit to allow the placement of the truck terminal and related ancillary units.
Hang on.
Hold on,
before we-
hold on,
before we
hold the
change-
phone.
Before we shift
Trustee
gears here,
Cook.
can I follow up with you on
Wanna
what
bring
you
them
just
back?
said?
Yeah.
So, once you park them and they're shut down, so you're probably gonna be running on engine heaters and that, you're not gonna be worrying about gelling up with the fuel or that during the night when you're, I mean, because you're gonna run them with engine heaters as opposed to the engine running all night or that when it's cold?
No, the engine block is heated by the electrical.
Okay, so they're not gonna have to run
No.
all night, so they'll come in, appropriate cool down, and then shut it off?
Yeah.
Okay,
That no reason they still running.
okay, thank you.
Okay, John, keep going. You might not want to leave.
Okay. We're staying.
You
We
can
like
stay
you
at the
guys.
presentation altar. That's why we built it.
The special use permit has a recommendation for certain variations from lot size, from the sign placement. Just quickly on the sign placement, the county required a right-of-way dedication that, it's a 20-foot right-of-way dedication that creates a 60-foot half right-of-way out on Butterfield Road. Where they were proposing to place the sign, complied with the setback requirements. With this right-of-way dedication, it puts the sign now within a foot. So that required a variation. It was recommended for approval. And then screening and walling, screening of the property was also required. So there are 20 conditions now, including the reefer cooling unit, restrictions on those. Well, I guess it would be a prohibition of those on the property. We will add some language to the ordinance that will approve this. The fourth item was unanimous approval for hours of operation, which stated no restrictions on work in the office, but vehicle maintenance may only be done Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. All work except emergency repairs must occur within the garage building. Unanimous approval for the additional work hours. Again, no restrictions for office, working in the office, but vehicle maintenance may only occur on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday 10 to 3 p.m. And again, the same thing with the emergency repairs. And then the final item was unanimous recommendation for preliminary and final site landscaping approvals as amended by the presentation and as set forth in the conditions of approval that are in your packet. One other item quickly for clarification as a part of the special use permit. Item 7, compliance with technical review comments. And item 13, petitioner agrees to do tuck point repair and painting on the building. I think there's some anticipation that the closing on this property will not take place until late October. And therefore, they may very well run out of weather before they can get to some of these things. So what we're suggesting as a part of some additional language would be that if the weather doesn't allow the work, the petitioner will provide a letter and schedule for completion of the said work in the spring. And we'll do is we'll hold on to the CO. We'll issue a temporary CO, but then we'll hold on to the final CO until after that work is completed.
All right.
And again, it provides them some flexibility to get the work.
Jan, what are the fire safety issues that are, germane to this building?
I think the fire department has done a walkthrough on it. I mean, the building is not sprinkled and is not required to be sprinkled as a part of. It is not.
Why?
Because it's an existing building. And we've talked with the fire department about this. They will provide a Knox box, key and access. The time that it will become sprinkled will be when and if they ever expand the garage area, and then the sprinkler application will go on inside the building.
Well, is there any reason why we can't require that right now, if the petitioner's agreeable?
Well, no, that's your option. The only thing that comes into play here is the cost associated with that. So that would be the only thing at this point. So
Can be done.
Yeah.
Going to speak to that, or do you want me to talk to that petitioner?
I believe that my client will be doing some work on the garage itself within a year.
What does
So
that got to do with my question?
they're going to be building an additional storage space, which will give them an opportunity to install the sprinkling system versus doing it now or doing it when they're actually doing the construction on the building. So this way, they will be able to do the whole thing together at the same time. It's going to be
Well, I understand that, but we can require that now. You know,
I mean, one of the, I was just talking with Mike about this. We could give them the ability to sprinkle the building within a year or something along that lines that allows them to get established and, kind of works with them.
yeah, because this building's more than 1,000 square feet.
Well, I think the issue, though, is one of how much work they're doing on the site, and it doesn't trigger the installation of a system like that. So
But the building is how big?
it's
Who's
bigger than.
buying the buildings? Anybody know what you're buying?
Yeah, no,
Well, how many square feet is it?
3,000 square feet.
3,000.
Todd, you know the square footage?
It's gotta be bigger than
Probably the garages.
that. Well, maybe not.
It's larger than 1,000 square feet.
I understand that part, I wouldn't have asked the question if I thought it was under 1,000.
I'm filling time, Your Honor, until he finds the
Okay,
answer.
Yeah. I'd like to see the thing sprinkled. I think it's important.
Well, the petitioner, I think, stated they're going to do an addition within a year.
Correct.
So what I might throw out for
Well,
consideration.
why don't we throw this out? If it's not done in a year, then they sprinkle it anyway.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They have 12 months to sprinkler the building, addition
Right.
or no addition. And
Not just including the mechanic area.
the whole building.
The office space and such,
When will the 12-month begin, when we actually move in? Because we haven't closed yet. So why don't we start counting 12 months from the date when we close?
That's
Which
up
makes
to the
sense, because
board.
I don't know when we're going to close.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. When you take possession, you move in,
Okay.
You
12
gotta
months
repair
from
the
the
roof
date.
first. What kind of condition is building in,
It need a full repair. Full repair for all building. It's need a change a roof. It's
Oh, you
inside.
need a new roof?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's for the office
Like the
building.
YMCA, yeah?
Would the time on the 12 months start with the issuing of the temporary CO? Probably?
If that's acceptable to the board, we can use that as the start
I mean,
date.
I'll give them, when they're doing business, when do you think you're gonna start doing business out of the place?
It's not going to be right after the
Whenever
closing.
the trucks start rolling in the gate,
That's
that would be when it starts.
When do you plan to have the temporary C of O?
We have a few contingencies. We have to get a few permits. We have to get a few things
Right. And
rolling.
you got to get your roof repaired.
And it's not going to happen right at the
Right.
closing. So
So-
there's no way
February
to
1st,
say.
January 1st?
But
We
when
can
are
only
you-
hope.
When are you gonna start operating there with trucks pulling in and out?
As soon as we get all the permits, when we're
Okay, so
allowed.
that could be before,
Okay.
when?
Well, but remember, they have to get a certificate of occupancy from us.
Right.
To even
That-
just move in.
yeah, let's
They have
start at
work
that.
to do. So I think we could probably do this at the time of temporary CO.
Right.
And the meter starts running at that point, and then 12 months from that point, we'll,
Because that would be when your operation begins.
Right.
yeah.
And it remains a temporary CO because they have 12 months to get the sprinkler
Well,
system.
no, it
in.
remains a temporary CO until, according to your current conditions, until the tuck pointing and the painting is completed.
Right.
That's correct, and I might even suggest until the sprinkler system's
All
installed
right,
as
and
well.
what kind of
Okay.
inspection has been done? They have above-ground tanks out there, right?
No tanks.
Or are they below ground?
It's below ground.
Is it?
Below.
Okay,
They-
where are we at on that?
Have them answer the question.
We are going to be removing the tank.
One tank?
There is one tank.
And how many?
And
gallons
the
is it?
environmental was
How
done.
many- How many gallons is it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure right now. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Several thousand. If it's underground, it's not 500. If 500 would be above ground in a trough.
Yeah.
No, trust,
So they're taking it out, though.
I know,
Yes.
but how big is the thing?
It could be a couple thousand gallons, 2,500.
10,000?
It's,
No, I don't
it's
think-
right underneath the area where they're looking to extend. So it will be done within 12 months because everything has to be done at the same time. There's no way they're going to build on
Okay,
top
so
of
those
it.
involve the other permits.
Right.
Okay. Are you still lit up here?
That's for something else. So wait.
Right, yeah.
Trustee Schultz?
There was one little thing that I saw that was a little disconcerting is who's going to own the property? Because you've got some issues with your corporation potentially having a problem with.
Right now, we have
maintaining-
created an LLC,
Okay,
and that new company is the new owner of the property.
okay, and they both have an equal share or a proportionally
Correct.
equal share. So-
Correct.
And that's the
and if-
petitioner's part of that?
Yes.
This petitioner? Victoria?
All four individuals here are going to be owners of this
We
company.
have
All
two
right.
companies here. We have Via.
Correct.
Right? Or if I'm saying it right. Okay, and TPC, right? Or, yeah, that's the new LLC.
Random is the
Random.
original owner.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And so we've got that covered that
Yes.
just in case.
Taken care of.
And how confident are you in resolving your issues?
Very confident. Everything is in the works.
Oh, good, good, because we'd like to see you around and be here. We'd like to see the people that come before us be on the property. Okay. Trustee Cook, you had some issues with the fence material?
Yeah, my question regarded the fence material. In looking at the drawings and the pictures, those were the fences, was that what the association agreed to too? Because my question was, my preference would be if there's a way to do it, because anytime we've got those flat fences, there's so little architectural relief in a flat fence that, it's not very aesthetically pleasing. And I was thinking, I was wondering if you had looked at any of the board-on-board type fencing or that, which provides a similar privacy and a similar non-view, but is not as ugly and flat.
My name is Carl Krogstad. I'm the landscape architect with Krogstad Land Design Limited. And the fence that we're picking, first of all, is much more durable than the board-on-board or other wood fences. And the main part of what I was asked to do on this project is design the landscaping that's in front of that fence. And that was one thing that we did work with the homeowners association and sought their input. And I think it's going to look very good because of the landscaping that is, in fact, in front of the, yeah, so here's a detail of the landscaping, both evergreen and some deciduous material of different heights.
What's
So-
the total footage of the fence? I was having trouble figuring it out from the drawing.
Do you know if it covers the frontage except for where the drive aisles are, so whatever the frontage is, but there's continuous, there was only one section that on the original drawing, that was one of our agreements, we did not show landscaping because of the right-of-way, and if IDOT gives us permission, we're going to put some landscaping in there as well.
And would vinyl be a variance? Is that as opposed to a wood product, or vinyl would be acceptable here?
A variation would not be required for it.
Fine,
The
okay.
board can just make it a condition of approval.
Well, okay, and as opposed to what, a concrete wall?
Well, no, I was just thinking more in vinyl. Even in vinyl, aren't there board-on-board situations where you do the, because by board-on-board, I'm talking about the overlap, is what I'm talking about, that creates architectural relief within it?
Yeah, I don't think that, I mean, we're looking at a fence that is very simple, but I think because of the landscaping in front of it, the main function of the fence is to be durable and to provide the screening, and then the aesthetics are going to come from the landscaping that's in front of it and soften it and add color. And so I think that the combination of the fence to provide the screening and the landscaping in front of it creates a much very nice appearance.
So did we figure how many feet of fence it was?
Yeah, whatever the.
You know, let me ask staff.
Because I was having trouble getting that from the
Hey,
drawings.
my question is, okay, what kind of sound do we have, any clue that's gonna be generated out of this place with trucks moving in and out? Are there gonna be, I mean, during the day, there's gonna be noise, right?
Well,
So what kind of decibel level is a truck terminal gonna generate? And this 8-foot fence isn't gonna do spit to mitigate that, right?
No.
The vinyl
Well,
decorative fence.
it'll do
As
some.
opposed to a concrete wall where prairie is.
Well, they're,
You know what?
I don't want to extend that concrete wall. That's gonna make it look like a prison.
So what? But I mean, the people across the street might like it.
we didn't,
There's 6 houses that are directly across the street.
Yeah, but there's
Okay,
there's
and
another
those 6
60 that
houses-
can hear this place.
And those 6 houses are about, I don't know, I took a rough guess, about 500 feet away, 400 feet away from the area where the trucks will be parked at, where the
Right.
cabs will be parked
Oh, you
at.
mean on the back lot line?
Well, and
There-
for the,
No, that's some of them, but there's an island
I
in
mean,
the
the
center.
right of way of Butterfield Road is what, about 80 feet?
no, it's
120.
120.
Yeah, 100.
And
Okay, and so it's like 40 feet to the back of the house? You know,
setback wise, yeah, 40 or 50, but remember
not
that the
500
trucks,
feet, Jim.
but the trucks are going to be parked behind the building,
Exactly.
I understand.
the maintenance
And
building.
the
I'm
building
just saying,
itself is going to
When
block.
you start a truck up and you move it, you can hear it.
True, but you could also hear the bus company
That's what
when
I
it
said,
was
previous owners.
operating
But,
Many
I mean,
trips.
but
for years.
Do people like the fact that Prairie put up a concrete wall?
that was
That was
more
more
to do
for
with
dust.
That was, yeah.
No, that
That
would
would-
have a lot to do too with sound.
No, because they come and go so seldom.
Yeah.
The only thing to prevent the dust there would be putting a dome over it.
Well, but that wall cut down on the dust significantly.
Yeah.
The business model here, he doesn't want those cabs on site, or you want them on site as little as possible. They're not making money when they're parked in his yard. They're making money when they're on the road cranking miles.
So,
Am I correct?
well,
So-
they're not just gonna be pulling in and out. They're not gassing there, Jim.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This is a lower impact, probably right now, than the current training of first student bus drivers on that lot. There'll be less traffic with this application than we currently have right now.
Well, there's so little there now, but when they were there, it was a lot more.
And as they described during testimony, they're not making any money if the trucks are sitting in the yard.
Okay,
So
how many
they're
can we
gone.
park in the yard though?
How many could they? They're proposing about 30 or 32 maximum, or 35.
That we're actually going to be parking, but there's definitely more room to park more.
Right.
But at this point, it's only no more than 35.
And the bus company was running 80 to 100 units.
Correct. And the trucks.
And you got Conway, but in Mundelein. Has anybody looked at that operation in Mundelein?
No.
We have provided photos.
So, I mean, how many vehicles do they have parked there? There's a truck terminal.
That's a terminal. That's different than this operation. This is an over the
Don't you think he
road.
wants to move those vehicles out? Those
Those
vehicles go
vehicles
everywhere
come
in the
back.
country.
For the most part, or at least half of those vehicles come back to that terminal every day because they're making deliveries out of that location.
You know that for a fact?
Yes.
Oh, you've spoken to these people?
I know how those truck terminals work. I
Oh,
know
okay.
how Conway
Well, you
works.
know, well,
Conway was the primary
Conway's all
carrier.
over the country.
Yeah, and Conway was the primary carrier for a company that I worked for.
Okay.
All right, so
So
with
what's
that
that got to
being
do with
said,
Mundelein?
that operation is a whole different operation than this operation.
But it's a truck operation.
It's a terminal. This is not a terminal. While he's got it on the sign, that's a misnomer. You're not
Well,
really
you
a
probably should
terminal.
remove that from the sign then. What do you mean it's not a truck terminal? Come on.
Motion to direct staff to create the necessary ordinance to provide the requirements and permissions subject to the conditions outlined by staff.
And including the reefer cooling units and the fire sprinkler within a year of issuance of this temporary CO.
Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, I made that motion.
Well, you made the motion, but is there a second?
Second.
Okay, under comments or questions?
Yeah.
I got comments
Well,
or
I
questions.
got a concern how we can build this operation if we can't figure out how many feet the fence is. That's, shouldn't be.
I'm sorry, how many,
How
you
many
mean linear
feet
feet?
of fence? Yeah.
It covers everything from the building north to the property line, and it goes 100 feet down the north property line to where it's even with the building. And if,
Was it 200 or 300 feet, or is it 400 feet of fence? I'm just trying to get a feel for it because I couldn't tell from the drawings. It was,
The property is squared, so technically if it is,
Well, you've got a scale on here. You've got 100 feet.
I know, and that's,
but that's not.
So you've got about 175 on the one side, and you've probably got about 75 on the other. So if I were, right,
so you're figuring 250?
It looks bigger
with,
than that.
with the
That's what I thought.
removal
I thought
of the
that's-
driveways.
It's gotta be more than 250. Christ.
It's gotta be. If you take,
It's not 25 feet
Hey,
of
Chad,
fence.
let me ask this.
yes, sir?
And this is a special use.
Correct. Yes, sir. And they
You
have,
guys understand what a special use is, right?
Tom, about 400,
And is this,
hearing
are we
25, I'm
creating
hearing
an
200,
ordinance
I'm
for
hearing
this
400.
use?
absolutely,
Yeah, I mean, we don't have this use even as a special use in town.
correct. We are amending the zoning
Okay.
ordinance.
So what we're asking of, we can ask whatever we need to get from these people, because this is an absolute unique use in this town. So, and to say there's only 6 houses that are affected, it's like saying, okay, there's only 6 houses get the dust from Prairie, come on, And that wall doesn't prevent the dust. So in essence, if we need personally, I'd like to see a fence that was higher and actually was some kind of a sound barrier within that facility. You're not gonna tell me you're not gonna have activity in there, because this guy wants to have activity, and I don't disagree. Because you're gonna be circulating vehicles in and out, you got a spotter, you got spotters, don't you? No. So, okay, so it's just, the tractor comes in and hooks up to a trailer and goes bye-bye. Yeah, okay. But there's still noise associated with it, and quite frankly, if I lived over there, I mean, I like the wall that Prairie put up. You're not looking into the yard,
Well,
With that said, okay, and I know there's trees all up and down Butterfield, blah, 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 and that screen, because we always required that, and they've grown. But I'm just saying, 8-foot fence, then it doesn't matter. Why doesn't he just plant a bunch of arborvitae?
Well, we talked about that at the Plan
And
Commission.
pretend it's like one of the car dealers, over off of Milwaukee, so that, it really blocks out the light and everything. Now, are these lights gonna be on all night in the parking lot?
The lights will not be changed from what they are now.
So they'll be
No
on,
additional light
but
will
they'll
be
be on
added.
all night long?
Are they on right now?
I don't know.
No,
Maybe
are-
they're on a timer.
Are
They
on?
are on right now.
You sure? You wanna drive over there now?
Well,
Would you like me
You want
to?
us to make a run? Let's stop the meeting. I haven't done this in a while. We'll
During-
make a run right now, see if they're on.
during your operation,
Why
will,
would you keep the lights on all night long?
When we had a
Because
meeting,
you're gonna
there
have
was a
vehicles
security
coming in and out.
issue, and we were asked the question, how are we going to make sure that the area is secured? One of the ways to keep it secured is to park the truck so there's no entrance into the truck, and to make sure that there is enough light. There's going to be no additional light. So if up to this point there were no concerns about lighting, there should be no concerns after we open up our business in that area, because no additional light is going to be added to that area.
Do they need?
And about the
Do they need additional light?
well,
Mike Atkinson? You want to speak to that, or Dave?
The
And
code,
don't get me wrong, the lights should be on,
Yeah.
just from a theft standpoint and all.
yeah, the lights should be there primarily for security. And I can't tell you exactly how much lighting is there at night and what it illuminates. I can say that if it was secure enough for the bus company, it may be logical enough to assume that it's secure enough for the trucking company. But short of a photometric plan and something we can look at to give you a conclusive opinion, that's as
Well, do we
much,
need that?
that's
Well,
as much of a comment
what
as I can give.
what we've indicated as a part of this is that the existing lights out there will remain, that the owner of the property will work with the staff to make sure that the glare and any type of spillage will not affect the residents across the street, and that if we can't determine that the property is in compliance with the code, that they'll provide us a
But
photo.
I mean, these lights have been there for what, 30 years,
Okay,
40?
I don't know.
I know, what I'm saying is, Jen, is that the right lighting for this site?
Well,
Other than it's just there.
what we're saying is it's got to comply with the ordinance. If we can determine, we'll work with them to make sure it complies with the ordinance. You don't want, I don't know where you're going with your question here, but you don't want something that's bright and overly lit so that it actually spills out onto the road and/or the neighbor's property across the street.
Well, I'm just talking, how many light standards are in there now?
Most of the lights are on the building, from what we recall. There may be a light in the parking lot. I mean,
So far, there were no complaints from the residents.
the lighting was low.
I'm
The lighting was
part
low.
of it, but,
The lighting levels were low.
okay.
So
Okay, so let's pretend that this is a bare site.
I'd rather not if
Well,
we
no,
could.
no, and it was a bare site, and these guys wanted to come in and just do a truck turbo.
Okay.
Obviously, we'd be requiring a lot more stringent code to what we're applying now.
Well,
May I say
I
a
mean,
few
on the
words?
building and on the parking lot.
well, I mean, sure, the architectural, yeah, absolutely, and there would be a different set of design standards applied to the building because it's brand new, coming out of the ground. What
Well,
we're trying to do is, the building will be taken care of, it'll be repaired, there'll be painting on what can be painted.
We'd probably be dictating the structural number, the engineering number, to what this parking lot can take from a weight standpoint. These aren't buses going in there. These are what, 72,000-pound trucks, and you will probably have dust after you crush whatever's in there into nothing, and then you got to redo the lot. And I know it's private property, but shit, we don't want to have a gravel pit in there.
May I ask the question, do you plan on having full loads, sealed loads in that lot, or just empty trailers?
No, it will be with the loads also.
There will be loads.
Yeah, it will be loaded.
And the truck engine doesn't make more noise than the bus So when the buses were working in that area, when the first student was functioning as a school bus company, there were about 100,
Whoa, slow down.
talking about
I'm
noises.
talking about starting up a truck with a full load. You got to be kidding me.
It does not
You ever
make
been in
more
traffic
noise
next to
than
a
the
truck
school.
starting up
Of
with
course
a
I
full-
have.
full load?
Of course I
Oh,
have.
does it
And I
make more
travel
noise
quite
than
a
a school
bit.
bus?
It does not.
Spare me. Come on.
The engine of the truck is very similar to the engine of the school bus. And Mr. Bubianas owns
see the
trucks
school bus like
that are
back
no
to back
older than
towards the kid, the
2008.
inertia to
And then the
really-
current technology makes sure that there's no, the noise that you're referring to, you're probably referring to something that's a little bit older. In trucks starting around 2006, 2008, the noise is quite different from what it was before.
Really?
When you're starting the engine, why don't we ask a
I'm not talking
specialist?
starting the engine. I'm talking starting to pull the load.
Right,
Well,
right.
it's kinda
When you
like-
have 100 school buses pulling out of that parking lot in the morning and in the afternoon when the kids are dropped off, you're going to have more noise from a school bus than from a truck that comes in and comes out maybe once every hour, maybe. But these trucks are on the road 24/7. They come in usually towards the end of the week so the driver can go home and get some rest and then go back into the truck. So the traffic, they don't all
Basically,
come out at the
this lot's
same
gonna
time.
be empty most of the week.
Correct. They
Really?
travel.
Okay.
And going back to the cost of the fans, since we've done a little bit of a research and since we know the quality of the fans, the noise reduction in this particular business will not make financial sense at this point because this is just two companies getting together and purchasing a larger fans with the noise reduction will make no sense to this company to invest into right now at this point.
Just want you to know, that had nothing to do with my question. I'm not talking about a bigger fence. And I still would like to know how many feet the fence is, but,
They're working on it. We have an engineer.
yeah, no.
Good evening. My name's Todd Schaefer.
Yeah, are these the landscape guys here?
Landscape architects here. I'm Todd Schaefer.
We know
with-
how long the fence is, right?
I do, sir.
Oh, okay.
So the west property line is just over 300 feet.
Okay.
The building itself is 100 feet north and south, which leaves 207 feet of frontage in the north-south
Talking about
direction.
over 500 feet of fence.
No, 200 feet. So if you
He's taking the
subtract off
building out because the building is what
the
length?
gate, the north-south dimension is 300 feet.
Right, and the building?
The building is 100 feet.
Right, so you're down to
What
200.
was your other 300 feet of fence?
The gates are totaling 55 feet. So if you subtract off the gates in the building, you're left with 150 feet of fence along Butterfield Road.
Okay.
Then the turnaround on the north property line is another 100 feet back to the west.
So
So
what are the
in
gates
total,
gonna
about
look like when they're
270 feet of
closed?
8-foot of the
What are the
Vinyl
gates
fence.
going to look like when they're closed?
The gates are the chain link fence with the slats because of the weight issues, and they're mechanical gates that slide northerly, the southern gate and the northern
Yeah,
gate.
similar to what they are now.
Similar to what they are now, correct.
Slats to match the color of the fence?
Correct.
Do you anticipate the landscaping to mirror what's across the street somewhat as it matures, just because you know what's currently across the street on Greg's Landing? Do you think your landscaping will mirror that as it matures?
It will not mirror it as far as being the same material and same.
But you've got evergreens.
We do have evergreens. We came to an agreement last at the Planning Commission on what evergreens that they would like to see, and we're using the spruce, which is similar to what they have, and we're using some eastern red cedar. So there will be evergreens along with the roses that they requested and other plantings. So we've worked very
ash.
closely.
No ash trees.
No ash. I have not used ash in 5 or 6 years. So.
And you're also, I don't know, Carl, you want to tell them about the existing large evergreens that are still there?
Yeah, there are some existing plants. Try to see if this. Yeah, if you look at this illustration, these plantings along the building, there's some existing.
Did you say your name for the record?
Again, yeah, I did earlier, but I repeated. My name is Carl Krogstad, and I'm with Krogstad Land Design Limited with offices in Crystal Lake, Illinois.
Okay.
So these evergreens are existing. We had a large existing ash, which we took out. are taking out because I know the long-term, just as we had heard earlier, we didn't want to have to deal with that later. And we are putting in some other species of deciduous trees in lieu of that, but we also have some pine, spruce, Colorado spruce, and in a couple different locations. And then along the fence itself, we had originally had arborvitae, and that's what's shown in this drawing, but we agreed to change those to eastern red cedar.
So these are all salt-resistant type plantings?
Yes, they are. And then with the setback that we have, everything is hardy and salt-resistant.
Okay, Trustee Cook.
Just two things. In light of the number of board, the linear length of the fence and the amount of landscaping you're doing, this probably will not be a problem, so I'll withdraw that concern. And my second comment is, I'd just like to extend my compliments to Mr. Kelmer and the Planning and Zoning Commission, because this was quite a bit of work in the making in that, and I just wanted the commission to know that the amount of work that went into this is appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay. Is everybody satisfied now? Within reason?
So we've got those few changes about the 12 months on the sprinkling and the CO and
Yep.
TCO and.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Trustees Cook,
Aye.
Markwart,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda.
Aye.
And for the record, I'd vote aye. Motion carries. You don't have to stay. You can leave. You probably deserve it. Okay, what's next? Centrum Partners LLC concept presentation of plans for redevelopment of the former Weiss office building and property.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from Centrum Partners are here tonight to present their concept plans for redevelopment of the property located at the northwest corner of Milwaukee Avenue and Town Line. This is the two-story office building there on the corner. It's formerly known as the Weiss Office Building. Redevelopment calls for demolition of the office building and reconfiguring of the site to allow the creation of several restaurant or retail pads. The property is currently zoned B1. In your packet, you're provided two site plans, H and I, for consideration. Each of the plans provides 153 parking spaces for the uses on the property. You'll note in the plan that the buildings encroach into the required setbacks. During our discussion, staff suggested that they consider those encroachments as one of the alternative plans that they put forth, and that seems to have caught on, so that's why you see that. What this basically does is allow Centrum to move the buildings closer to the road to maximize the amount of the land that's available for parking. Specifically with option H, they're proposing to locate two restaurants in a small retail, multi-tenant retail building on the site. The north restaurant would include a drive-through lane and contain about 100 seats. The south restaurant would contain about 220 seats with some outdoor, including some outdoor seating areas adjacent to the road intersection. And we don't have names for the restaurants yet, unless they want to share something. The plan also maintains the existing 3 access points off the mall's Ring Road, and then signage is provided on both the Ring Road frontage and the corner itself. This plan is, as you note in the report, is underparked by about 77 spaces based on the zoning ordinance requirements. In option I, the only plan change is that the south restaurant would be replaced with a retail building, which would be about 6,300 square feet. And with this change, the required parking for the site was reduced to 137. So they've got a surplus of about 16 spaces on that site. The two issues for you to consider tonight and provide some direction are the encroachment into the required setback. The setback for the site is 60 feet, or required to be 60 feet. As you note on the plan, they're working with about a 25-foot setback. That is what the minimum landscape buffer area is along this area. To allow it would require significant variations be granted for the site. Although I would note that pushing the buildings outward would provide some interesting overall site design and create an interesting building potential at the corner. Obviously, that building would be right at that corner and require significant detailing to create a signature or statement building on that corner. Obviously, high visibility would require high architectural quality. The other unanswered question would be whether IDOT would require some kind of right-of-way dedication in the future for possible road widening that would reduce the amount of open space and landscaping both along Milwaukee and Route 60. The other issue for your consideration and direction is the parking variations on this site. Again, as noted, they're providing 153 spaces on the site. The zoning ordinance requires 1 space for every 2 seats plus 1 space for every 2 employees. Based on the calculations for both the restaurants and the retail, we're estimating that this site is underparked by about 77 spaces. They're going to talk to you a little bit about our standards and suggested standards that we may want to contemplate. We did look at the requirements for Libertyville, Buffalo Grove, Mundelein, and Lincolnshire and find that they calculate their parking based on square footages of the building and then apply per space per 1,000 square feet. So those are really the two issues. They're here tonight and they can walk through the plans if you'd like. And what they're requesting basically is your direction with regards to both the encroachment and, more importantly, the parking variations on the site. And so with that, I will turn it over to the Centrum Partners guys, and they'll talk to you about their plans.
Good evening, Your Honor and members of the Board of Trustees. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight and to present a concept plan to you for this, what I think is probably a pretty important site for the village at the northwest corner of Milwaukee and Route 60.
Go ahead, Mike.
Make sure it's
Okay.
on.
Did you identify yourself?
Yeah, the mic's for the folks at home, so.
Is this right?
Look it upward.
Yeah. Hello? There we go. Okay. Again, thank you for having us tonight. My name is John McLinden. I'm with Centrum Partners. With me tonight is Larry Powers, who is our Director of Development, and also our land planner, Howard Hirsch with Hirsch Associates. And we're here tonight to present to you a concept plan and looking for some feedback and direction on what we, again, believe is an important site for the village. The existing property, the Weiss building, is 55,000 square feet. And I'm not sure if everybody's aware of it, but quite frankly, to be blunt about it, it's an obsolete building. It's an older building. It's been it's had in excess of 50% vacancy for over 5 or 7 years. Right now, the vacancy I think is over 70%. There's a lot more better product, better mechanical systems out there in terms of the building. It's also a building from a generation ago, and in terms of just its style, there on the corner, it is a 2-story building that really doesn't have a lot of character for such an important location in this town. What we're suggesting tonight is a couple different plans. They're really, in terms of a land planning concept, they both really end up at the same point. And it's really kind of moving everything forward and creating some more energy and life, and also, I think, aesthetically a much better quality and some better architecture and land planning and landscaping at this intersection. The development plan, which one? There we go. As you can see in front of you, really does a couple things and that are quite important, we believe. When the office building was built, it was I would say, is a standard land planning of a generation ago. The building was this 55,000 square foot building. It's planted in the center of the site, and there's perimeter parking for office, and you can enter the office from different points. And that was pretty typical of how an office building of this type of outlet would be developed. What we've done here, and why we need the requested variance, is we've created a plan that pushes the buildings to the perimeter. We still have maintained the landscaping setback of 25 feet, which we think is most important, because we want to have a very attractive facade and perimeter to the site, and also some outside dining for that corner building. But it also then, by moving the buildings back, there's more visibility into the site, which we think is important. And there's also a shared parking field. So the buildings are pushed to the perimeter, and that's why we need the building setback requirements. If this same project was built with adhering to the ordinance as it's stated with in terms of the building setback requirements, the buildings would be clustered in one large mass in the middle, kind of like the office building is today, with perimeter parking. The retailers that we're talking with, and also the restaurants, in particular, they want their own identity. So they want to have their own building. They don't want to be connected. A sit-down restaurant, which is a white tablecloth restaurant, wants an identity that's separate and distinct from a fast casual restaurant with a drive-through. And the same thing with some of the retailers in the retail building. So it's important for the types of users that we have to have separate buildings. And it's important, I think, also to have that visibility into the site, and then to have shared parking. The other variance that we're seeking in this plan and need some feedback on is parking. As was mentioned by the village manager, our parking is underparked if you simply apply straight village standard, parking ratios. What we've done is we've actually taken an extra step, and we engaged a traffic engineer to say, we know more than it's not just, a restaurant. It's more specifics requiring the type of restaurant and the times of usage for these restaurants and the types of retailers we have. And now apply with that additional information, current parking standards by the Institute of Traffic Engineers and by the Urban Land Institute in terms of shared parking. Use the latest and the greatest, if you will, engineering analysis and what we know by data, and apply that to the site. And what do we come out? And the reality is that what we're proposing with the plan that you see in front of you meets the parking requirements, but for, I think it's like 6 parking spaces, but then they say that there's always, there's a 10% overage anyway. So in fact, the conclusion of the report, if you take a look at it, says that we do meet the requirements and the needs in terms of the parking. Now the question is, why is that? Okay, and what they have done is they've really taken our uses and they've understood the specifics of those uses. For example, the restaurant you see at the top and on the north is a fast casual that has drive-through, that has a peak time of parking of noon, Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday. The retailer that you see, has a peak parking period of 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. During the week as well as on the weekends. And then finally, the sit-down restaurant has a peak parking requirement of 6 to 8 at night. So we have different uses that are sharing a parking field the way it's been designed, and because of that overlap in the shared parking uses, again, according to ULI, studies, et cetera, we actually do meet a parking requirements for the needs of the users that we present here. So again, I think what we're seeking is some guidance. Before I turn it over, go any further, I'd like to have Howard Hirsch, our architect, just address a few things in terms of not only land planning but architectural, because we do view this as a kind of a gateway buildings, and it's important to have quality architecture, as mentioned earlier by the village manager.
Thank you. My name is Howard Hirsch. I'm the president and founder of Hirsch Associates in Chicago, an architecture and land planning firm. John did such a good job, he stole all my thunder on the planning aspects of it. it's a very unique site, and it's actually a very difficult site. And we've had long conversations with John about it. What makes it difficult is, one, it's a very prime corner, so you've got a pretty major intersection. But the other part of it is that you have sort of that third intersection being the curved road, which is the ring road for the Hawthorne Center. And you have property lines that don't square off with each other. Every line is sort of going off in different directions. And we first started this project back when it was option A. We looked at the more traditional route, and we tried to hold the building setbacks. And really, we were getting fragmented parking areas that didn't work, dead ends, areas where it just wasn't a convenient parking center, and it didn't open up the site, it didn't address the corner, it didn't do sort of all the things that you try to do when you're doing land planning. And so here we are, after 8 iterations back and forth with H and I, which are basically the same plan with just slightly different uses, in a way that we believe, allows the visibility to all the users, creates the sort of unique building at the corner. I mean, we really see that corner as being something special. John said we held the 25-foot setback, but that's the minimum. We actually exceed the 25-foot landscape setback, especially as we get closer to the corner, and also on the west end of the building. We're up to 45 feet in some areas. We just don't meet the 60-foot setback. And we'd really hate to see a building with a ring of parking around it. I just don't think that's what the site requires. The one thing we really haven't gotten into is, what is this building going to look like? And the truth is, we don't know at this point. We don't like to design a building until we get input from the community. So what John asked me to do, and Larry asked me to do, is just sort of look around and say, what do I see as potential, materials and ideas for this? And this is sort of an idea page. And it's one that's taken from centers in this community and surrounding it that we think might be appropriate.
To do your job. Are you the architect?
I'm the architect as well. I compete with Joe Antunovich all the time.
Oh, okay.
So I know Joe very well.
Okay, the deal is here, you guys you got an option to take this out, or one of you guys related to Weiss, or, what's the deal here? More accurately, this is palatable, okay?
Yes, I mean,
something positive.
Yes, we have. You're asking about our contractual.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we have a contract to purchase the property. Subject to, getting a plan that's approvable, that's financeable, that's economically viable.
What kind of feedback did you get from staff on what you're presenting to them?
Feedback was very helpful. John mentioned that he actually asked us to push the buildings out closer to the street, which we think is a good idea, both for us and for Hawthorne.
Yeah.
John, I don't want to speak for you in regards to parking. I'll say that maybe he deferred it to the committee.
And this whole site is what, a couple of acres?
3 acres.
3.
Yeah, I mean, from the staff standpoint, what we did was we pointed out what the committee had expressed previously with regards to the TIF district and the Vernon Hills Town Center and the parking issues related to that. And in that situation, as you know, Taxman had to use an outlot for additional parking because it was just overwhelmingly successful.
Right.
And the concern here obviously is that while there is this large parking field that says Westfield on it, you can't get a long-term agreement that allows for the parking deficiencies that are created based on our ordinance to address that concern. So, and I mean, you might be able to get something short-term, but I mean, Larry, I'm sure you talked to Bob Coys. I talked to Bob Coys, and Bob told me specifically, I can't do a long-term agreement with them. I mean,
well, that doesn't prevent people from parking there and running across the street.
Correct, but we typically don't, approve things like that.
Okay. Yeah,
This site,
you're right. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but saying that, I think there's a lot of positives to the land plan. I think at least the concept plan that we've seen, we've not gone into any detail and in any way, shape, or form on this, but the concept is an interesting concept.
Sure.
And
Sure. I got the board lit up here. Trustee Schultz.
The first and best thing is knocking down that building. It really, you're absolutely right. It's
tired.
Yeah, and besides that, it blocks off the view, so to speak, of the mall. So this kind of opens it up, and hopefully, you know, with the improvements we're making in the mall, kind of adds on to that. So I like knocking that building down. Now, what you're coming back with is interesting. I like the idea of your, you know, how, well, I like the 2 restaurants. I like the retail, provided, you know, it's a reasonable use. I kind of see it like the DXL building that's kind of kitty corner from it across the street. It's long, skinny, and it's 1.5 users in there. They still haven't found the half user yet, but whatever. But with that being said, I like also the idea that you're looking really at keeping this at one level. I'm getting that impression that you're not
Right,
looking
that's correct.
to have multi-story buildings, which again is going to help with opening the views to the mall. So, you know, all things considered, the restaurant with the outdoor seating, that's right there on the corner. I don't know how enjoyable that's going to be for someone having dinner al fresco with cars constantly making right turns there, and that's a very heavy traffic intersection. So maybe there needs to be the reversal of
Well, you gotta
retail.
go, Jim, you should go downtown, you know?
Well,
Watch
that's
the
true. You're
watch the
absolutely right.
CTA
Go
bus
along
go
Michigan
by.
Avenue, right,
And
yeah.
he's belching out a little diesel.
Yeah, no,
you know?
you're absolutely right. All the outdoor
There's some
cafes
seasoning
on
top of your
Michigan.
fish, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But with that being said, I like the idea of you repurposing the property. And if we can figure out a way to make it work, I'd like to really work with you. I also like the idea of the additional engineering that you went through about the parking. I like that thought process, that there are peak times for each one of these different uses. And if we can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, then it's a good reason to say, okay, yeah, you deserve an exemption. That's it.
Trustee Hebda.
Thank you for bringing this. There's just a couple of things I'm going to ask. What kind of retail uses are you looking at for this building? That's one concern of mine.
You know, we're really trying to play off the mall as opposed to what you see across the, you know, south side of town line. So, soft goods, we're in discussions with a jewelry tenant, you know, we're trying to stick to that level, and I think the white tablecloth restaurant at the corner is going to allow that.
Because if you're going to tell me you're going to put a mattress store there, I would be not happy with you. And so that's why I'm looking at a retail that's, you know, a complement to the mall. I do not have an opposition if you're going to put a white tablecloth restaurant here. I've seen some 2 stories that are beautiful, that are well done down in Old Orchard, that are done out in Schaumburg. So, but I'd like to see glass. I'd also like to see you look at the architecture as you look at the mall to make sure that it's not totally off the wall from what the mall is doing, but yet it is a showcase piece for coming into the village too. I do have concerns about the outdoor seating, and I also want to make sure that you're cognizant of the fact that as you face Milwaukee, your trash containers and those kinds of things are really well designed and well hidden, because that's something that someone's going to see as they drive back and forth there. But you have opened up a vista to the mall, which is a real plus for me. So, but those are things that I would want to take issue with. I'm not sure if there needs to be a water element in here or not. I don't know that that's realistic, but there might be some way of looking at that as you design things too. But please take into account, yes, we do need a white tablecloth restaurant here. We have a lot of families, but we have a lot of family-oriented restaurants. It would be nice to have some adult restaurants that people, unfortunately my age, could go to and just sit and enjoy, because we do have a lot of things for our children and our families. But if you're looking at that, it sure would be nice to bring a nice...
Yeah, just to let you know, we are talking with someone specifically who has expressed a very strong interest, very quality. It's a name that you would probably recognize. They're not here in the village at this point in time, but they are a well-known restaurant.
Is it just a local restaurateur?
No. No, but they're very well known, and they're a white tablecloth, and they're very good quality. Someone I think that everybody
and I
would
think
like.
that would be a nice compliment to the mall too, for people, even though they're bringing in some of their things, but it's nice to be able to have that there.
Yeah, is there any chance of them you acquiring Denny's space?
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Hey, I'm only kidding. you know, hey.
We actually took a shot at it, but that's not in the cards right now.
But no matter what you do, this landscaping has to be maintained. It needs to be taken care of because people come in and say they're gonna do this wonderful plan, and then the landscaping goes by the wayside and because of where it's featured. So those are just my issues that I see as you move forward, but overall, I'm pleased with what you've brought to the
A
table.
quick response on that corner. Obviously, the restaurant's going to have a lot to say about where their dining is. Secondly, the way most of these dinings are done, they've got some sort of a nice low wall feature, trellises, things like that that mitigate the noise. And then with the landscaping, I really think the corner is the place for it, but you know, if the restaurant thinks it should be on
Right,
the other
we have
side,
to
we'll
get something
certainly
of it.
work with them.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, the other side of it is, you know, setting aside what you're showing here in the retail and, you know, the white tablecloth, you know, who's that sparked up about a drive-in restaurant, which obviously you're showing on this plan?
Yeah.
I'll turn that to the board. You want a drive-in restaurant there like the other three corners or the other two corners, you know?
Depends on what it is.
What it is, yeah.
Well, we got the Chick-fil-A, you know. Good God.
But they're,
Okay.
yeah.
What's the drive-in, a bank?
You know, it's actually, this is a...
It's a restaurant and a bank.
Okay, I can't tell you the name, but it's a fast casual, okay, of the likes of, you know, it's a quality restaurant.
Right.
You know, it's somewhere you would go with a family. And they don't
I know what
currently...
it is. Yeah,
they don't,
I know exactly what
okay,
you're
but I'm going to tell you this much, just so
No, look-
I can't, I'm not at liberty to reveal the name, but I can tell you this much. They don't currently, in their current standards that they've been around for a while, they don't currently have drive-throughs. But
they
this is
want
something that's new for them.
Right.
So it's not a drive-through restaurant per se.
Right.
It's a fast casual that's of good quality.
And it's an upgrade from a Chili's? Not necessarily.
It's
Yes. Yes, it
different.
is.
It's, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would prefer going to this restaurant that we're talking about than Chili's, but that's
My
my
wife would
preference.
prefer
The
going.
new Chili's is wonderful, by the way. So,
That's what I've heard.
yeah. So,
Yeah, okay. All right, well, I'm not that sparky about a drive-in there, if we're trying to upgrade the corner, so. Trustee Cook,
So, before we get any further on this, could somebody find out on staff, I mean, you know you don't have the numbers off the top of your head, but number of seats in a place like Portillo's or one of our existing restaurants?
almost
and-
400
Almost
seats.
400?
Yeah.
Okay. And parking there? Because they've got a big cross easement with Target, so is that hard to figure?
Right. And I'm not sure if we can meld them together to give you an accurate
Yeah.
ratio.
Because my concern is I really want to see your numbers because I've been on the board long enough. Traffic engineers are guys who, if they work for you, can make 2 and 2 equal 5. I mean, I've seen it. Or they can make it equal 3. They're one of those kind of people, what do you want the numbers to add up to? So if I could actually see their numbers, I might buy what you're saying about the parking. Because right now, a couple of our new places down are underparked. And we're having a problem with a couple of the restaurants. So anytime you're talking numbers, you can, yeah.
I don't think I need the microphone.
oh, yeah.
Well, it's for the people at home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife wants to be able to hear you in a couple of days from now.
Just as a, you know, a sniff test, you know, that's why John, I think, mentioned that early on, to just give credibility to the numbers we're using, we referenced Lincolnshire and Libertyville, which are, Libertyville, I believe, is 10 per thousand, Lincolnshire is 12 per thousand, which we have parked these restaurants to. We also, you know, we took note of the project that's caused a little bit of trouble around here, the Vernon Hills Town Center. And, you know, one of the things that really jumps out at us is our mix being about 50% retail versus Vernon Hills Town Center. I don't know the GLA numbers, but I'm guessing it's 75+% restaurant.
But there's a lot of places in Libertyville where restaurant parking is a problem. That's why they built a multi-deck parking facility. I mean, you know, so I don't know that that's a good example.
But those are
Well, there's
definitely areas
absolutely
that
no
don't even have the 10-to-1 parking.
Right, I know. Yeah, I know.
Well, there's no street parking at all in Libertyville. You
Yeah.
gotta go park.
Right.
You know.
And it's,
Center has
it's not just
7.5
Libertyville,
cars
but,
per
you know,
thousand.
I think Skokie is 10 per thousand. It's a pretty common ratio to be between 10 and 12,000,
Okay.
most commonly at 10. But absolutely, we'd be happy to share our analysis with you.
Yeah, I mean, if, you know, when we get to that point, you know, and staff's looking at, I just like to see the numbers. Otherwise, everything that's been said, I agree, and you're right, you don't want parking around a restaurant. That doesn't work. The way this is laid out, if you're talking about restaurants, is much better. So, yeah, some good ideas.
Well, if you got the drive-through, I guess that'll eliminate parking, even though I don't want it, right? People won't go into the joint, they'll just drive through.
Drive-through just depends upon what kind of restaurant it is. That's,
McDonald's
you know.
is 65% is.
Drive-through.
I think is drive-through.
Oh, it's
In fact,
probably
and
80%.
In fact, and I think I'm low. That's right.
You know, the only time eating there is when you got kids in grammar school.
Well, and what you also see is first-generation stores that may have gone into inline spaces who have changed their corporate policy to go with a second-generation or a third-generation store that then now includes a drive-through component. And they see the numbers being generated by McDonald's, which says, you know, I'm stuffing 75 or 85 cars through a drive-through in a 1 hour period of time, and they see that that's a significant business enticement to that to their overall corporate policy. So, so we may see that potentially.
Yep.
So.
Well, and the perfect examples in town would be Portillo's and Jason's Deli, a couple of those
Yep.
type of places. Yeah.
And Portillo's, you know, they added the second lane to, you know, they push them through there. So.
Trustee Mark, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Microphone.
Standalone parcels oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Markwart.
The only question I have, I do like the design of how the layout is. Again, my concern though is for IDOT. And that was, I will turn that over to Dave only for the fact that
Yeah,
road traffic is.
Yeah, I did have an opportunity to look at our SRA plan for both Milwaukee Avenue and 60. It looks like the right-of-way for Route 60 is in place in terms of the ultimate design for that. At some point in time, they may put, they're recommending for 2040 that this would be a cloverleaf at this intersection. I'm not sure whether or not our village would like a cloverleaf, but that's in the planning for IDOT.
Overleaf is.
Yeah.
Oh, you put a roundabout in there.
Yeah.
I speak the,
So, I mean, to blow it right over the top of,
and to put the other turning
why don't we
movements.
just settle in on a roundabout and get it over with? 'Cause
That would
those
make
are-
this intersection
oh,
exciting.
They're the end all to end all. Let's do a roundabout.
But I'm sure our village officials would not really want to see a clover leaf
No.
here, so let me.
I would think even after we're all dead and buried,
Yes.
nobody'd want a clover leaf there.
So to
No.
answer Trustee Markwart's question, the right-of-way that IDOT has requested for the future plan is in place, so we don't anticipate a right-of-way request coming from the state to these gentlemen. One thing I would, you mentioned the drive-through. For your planning, take a look at your drive-through. Right now, I'm seeing 6 cars for queuing. We do have, as John mentioned, Portillo's. We do have McDonald's that's going to dual driveways because business for some of our drive-up restaurants are doing really well. And so look at your queuing. If this queuing doesn't work and it backs up, you are blocking the main drive entrance for the rest of the development. Something to consider.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. There's not enough room. Chick-fil-A's a oneer. It's only one.
And typically, we
Wow,
have a
it's
design
two
for a
up right
bypass
out of the
lane
box?
going
Yeah.
around it. I see
All
you do have on the north side. Are you going to put that along the east side also for a bypass lane of the drive-through? Because
Yeah.
typically, that's something we like to see in town, too. So,
We'll study that.
okay, thank you.
Okay, why don't we, I don't have a problem going forward. You can
Well-
expose yourself to technical review and,
Well, I guess the question is, current zoning ordinance parking requirements versus looking at something lesser.
I do too.
Okay. Okay.
One of the things though too is that I guaranteed if someone's gonna park in a parking lot, I'd be over at Westfield.
all right.
That's sort of funny stage to it.
Yeah, if it gets that successful, we'll worry about it, you know? If these drive-through restaurants become destinations.
And maybe we'd want to get just better definition from Westfield on their policy towards interlopers if there's not a easement in place.
That might take 3 years.
I don't think they have
That's
any
okay.
policy
You
because.
don't have to press that real hard.
No, I don't think they have much of a policy because
no.
one of my complaints was that there were large yellow vehicles being parked there all day on a regular basis. They didn't care.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
Well-
yellow things, yellow, yeah, the buses, yeah, okay.
And then, do you want to have Bob give his
Yeah, sure.
ceremonial?
Yeah.
I get a speaking part here. This is just a concept review, and the whole point of the concept review is just to give you an indication of a first blush reaction of the board. It's not binding. You could go through the process and you could get denied 6-0, but it does give you a good sense. This is a pretty consistent board in terms of not turning from their original consensus, but there's ultimate decision is still ahead of you.
We understand.
Yeah, it doesn't mean, you know, when at the 11th hour, you're not going to have an anxiety attack from this chair. Since you already witnessed that, so.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate your comments and your feedback. Thank you.
Okay. Happy hunting. All right, what's next? 53 and 53.
53 and 120.
Who's handling this one?
Well, John and I can both, I'll start it out, but this is a request for your engagement. One piece of it is from CMAP. That's the Chicago Planning Agency, Chicago Area Planning Agency. And that is for the environmental, economic impact of future construction, proposed construction of Illinois 53 and 120 extension. Then the other piece of it is the economics that'll be studied by the Illinois Toll Highway Authority. So both those agencies would like a representative of, I think it's 18 communities impacted, one of which is Vernon Hills, and they would like, they would really like an elected official on the committee for the finances particularly. Because I think part of that is it's going to be a future sales endeavor. I mean, because it's, you know, a 45 mile per hour, part of it's a boulevard scenario, another part of it's more of a limited access road, and it'll be very expensive. What are they talking, $2.5–3 billion, so it's a lot of money. So anyway, that's the financial part of it. Then the other part of it is studying the environmental impacts and what market, you know, commercial uses could be,
You know,
in the corridor.
And the land uses.
Okay,
Yeah.
so where are we at with the, you know, the you know, I guess the vote of the Blue Ribbon panel, and, you know, with the Tollway Authority, is this just another, you know, I guess, sandwiched in study type group again before anything's determined?
Well, I guess.
I mean, and whose brainchild is this? in all
Well, they
honesty?
might describe it as the next step that needs to be completed before you get to the point of financing
Is
the
this a
tollway.
step that's, can be assumed then that the road's approved?
I
In some way,
wouldn't- I
shape,
wouldn't
or
go
form.
that far.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this
I mean,
is like another, you know,
John or Dave, but
so
I haven't
much,
heard.
this
This is, they're funding quite a few millions of dollars to accomplish both these things, but that doesn't mean, I mean, I'm sure there's millions of dollars of planning money that has been spent on Illinois 53.
The more they study, the more.
I know, but is this actually engineering type dollars now?
If I can help.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, could you?
I'll try. There was a Blue Ribbon committee meeting today at 2 o'clock. I did attend it. In terms of that, they have hired Christopher Burke Engineering to oversee the feasibility study. They've also, he's going to be a co-chair with the finance person. So what the tollway is working on.
He's going to co-chair with who?
With someone who's overseeing the finance part of things.
It's about,
So there's an engineering role, a financing role, they're going to study this feasibility, and they're going to
So
bring.
who picked Burke? The Blue Ribbon Panel?
Yes.
Did George Rainey, like, recommend
I don't
him?
know the specifics,
Well,
but
was he in
as
the
that
room when you were in the room today?
he was definitely in the room. He definitely was in the room.
So who put them up for nomination?
I don't know they did send out a RFP and he was selected. I don't know who was on the panel for his selection.
Is there a lot of Army Corps engineer stuff that's gonna come into play in this?
There will be.
Oof.
There will be.
I just heard from real reliable sources, they ain't at the top of the list dealing with the Army Corps engineers. And I've heard that from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary. You can quote me on that, Mick, if you want.
Yeah.
Well, because it's going to be a big, big issue to get this thing done. And if they, I heard they're not overly aggressive with the Army Corps engineers. Okay, well,
Excellent.
whatever. I pontificate too much.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I guess.
If I could.
So I guess the idea is, do you want to support those efforts, those two different efforts, and they want, representation from the village on it?
Is that to try and move it forward to get it built? Because, I mean, when I was a student at Mundelein High School, I knew that expressway was going in behind our building.
Right.
I was told then.
Well, they would say,
And I've been
and
out
I
of high
think
school a
Dave
few
or
years.
John, everything we've heard, yes, this is next steps, as they say, taking next steps. This is one of the next steps. The effort is to, but let's face it, like I said before, is speculative, but it's a 45-mile-per-hour boulevard limited access road, and how much money do you have to pay as a toll, user for 20-plus miles of road, including part of the 53 extension that currently exists? And are you going to pay that? So that's a question. And that's
People pay it every day.
Rather than fight Route
that's
60
part
to
of-
get to the toll road?
Yeah.
People will.
that's part of
Come
what
on,
the challenge was for the Elgin O'Hare Expressway, is they had to get funding from other sources because the tolls were so
Based on the amount of building that's going on west, if you build it, they will drive it.
I'm sure if it's built, it'll get used.
So where we're going to end up with this is the tollway is going to decide in mid-year 2015 whether or not they should move forward or not. So they're going to build upon the Blue Ribbon Committee concepts that were laid out and everyone agreed upon. They're going to use that as the basis, move ahead with the feasibility study, go back to the committee 3 different occasions working through it. Ultimately, the tollway is going to make a decision mid-year 2015 whether or not these options are viable for them to build it as a tollway. That's their plan.
The other part of this
This is just us participate.
Right. And I think we need to just.
Well, we're going to
protect-
participate.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been participating for
Right.
20, 30 years, I don't know. 25 years, probably. Since our first resolution was passed in 1988 in support of this, because Dave researched it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, who wants to do it? I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to be the board representative? I don't, daytime.
I don't know,
sure.
Dave, I don't think they laid out specifics
they-
yet.
they-
John, I
Cindy,
didn't
Dave
see anything.
Started filling
where-
committee
Trust me.
I
positions.
think local, they're gonna do it in Lake County.
Daytime.
It sounded, at least
It'll
that.
be daytime.
Yeah.
One of the panelists asked if they could do it both daytime and nighttime meetings at the meeting today, because some people do have part-time, anyway. they have
No,
full-time
but there was
jobs.
no closure, right?
There is not closure.
I would guess daytime.
All right, they're looking for an elected official, but are our staff members allowed to attend?
Oh, absolutely. They would love involvement from every community, whoever you send. But
Right.
they just asked, for
I
the
will
finance.
send Dave.
Well, with that being said, I mean, as long as, Yeah, as long as one of our staff members is primary, I'll volunteer to be the secondary.
Well, I would volunteer too, but, it doesn't matter. It's okay.
I'll defer to your lordship.
I mean, I could be the alternate, I
I'd be an
guess.
alternate just because of.
But
the school.
I know it's daytime.
Yeah.
This meeting today was daytime, right? Have I said that enough? The last meeting I went to was daytime.
Yes.
Because these employees, the public employees work during the day. So it's daytime.
So would you prefer the land planning, daytime, the land planning, general concepts, or you want to dig right into the money
I
part
think
of
we
it?
go
Which
for the
part?
money, don't we?
So,
The land planning is pretty much,
Yeah.
it's been decided what it's gonna
We want to
be.
be on the money.
Let's put it this way, they're spending a lot of money on the land planning for it being totally decided.
Here's what's going to happen on the land planning. The environmental engineer is going to be out at the site, and this dragonfly is going to land on the hood of his car, and he's going to identify that as an endangered species, and then $10 million later in studies, they're going to decide how high or low the whole bridge is over the south section of I-355. Mick, this is the truth. You can print this. I'm telling you, I got this right from a tollway trustee from First Midwest Bank, who I met with. It was like, oh my God. So the dragonfly lands, and then that changed the whole design of these bridges that go over these wetlands.
Well, that's what would explain why they have to meet during the
Before you
day.
get the I-80.
To see these,
Which is fine, I'm just saying, follow the money. I don't want to go to the.
Well, I guess I would also just suggest that we monitor the land use planning just simply because
But then we'll send 2 reps.
of the fiscal impact,
Well, there will be a fiscal.
who knows, might want to develop a mall at an intersection or something
Bad.
goofy like that, so.
God forbid, yeah. So we'll send two people. We'll volunteer for both.
And you saw the letter in there. Lynn will put it together and have you sign, Mayor, the letter of support, and we'll be there.
Okay.
So then,
Thank
Jim,
you.
you'll be our main guy with Dave. And I'm happy to be an alternate if it works into my school schedule. If he couldn't make it, along with Roger, we can see, so we can all kind of help
Yeah.
out that way too, so. But you're the main.
And is Marie Rodriguez going to be on one of these committees now that she's going for lieutenant governor? Because the first question I'm going to ask her, are you supporting the expansion of Route 53 through Lake County?
Last time when she ran for state.
I don't know what she ran for before.
Well, no, last time she ran, she was for it. When she was mayor, she was against it. When she ran for state rep, she was for it.
Okay, we got to flush her out in a hurry.
Well, that's why you have to attend the first meeting, Mayor. Find that out.
All right, well, Mick can be my proxy. Mayor Vern Hill said, what's your position on Route 53 being put in through your town? Okay, is that about it on this? All right, is there a motion to adjourn committee of the whole?
So made.
And go into closed session to discuss what, personnel and litigation
litigation.
or potential?
No, this is real.
We're getting sued, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Roll call.
Trustees Markwart,
aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Schwartz,
Aye.
Williams, Hebda,
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you, and good night.